Welcome back to Ode to Ghosts. We're your host, Will.
And Audrey.
William's got his legs out because it's getting warmer outside, and I get warm very fast, so please disregard those.
Well, he said he was like, I don't think I like that my legs are out. And I said, well, maybe that's why you need a blankie.
But I'm
He said
warm,
no.
so that just completely defeats the purpose
He's
of
not a
having shorts
blanket
on.
type of guy.
If it's cold, I am. I love me a good blankie if I'm cold.
But you're not really that cold very often.
But when I am, blankie.
Yeah. It's usually how most people are.
We're back today with a much longer episode than last time, hopefully.
Mm-hmm.
We've got your usual number of 4 stories. Anything you'd like to mention while we're in our life moments segment where we always...
No, not really. Life has been not super interesting in the past week, I guess.
We went to Shenandoah National Park.
Oh yeah. That was since we last filmed.
Mm-hmm.
You're right. We did. That was a really fun time.
Yeah. I was kind of hoping, like on the way there, I was thinking, oh, maybe I'll experience something paranormal so I can come back and tell the
You
story.
thought you were going to experience something paranormal?
Or I was like, not hoping I would, because I'd be okay if I didn't, but it would be kind of cool to like bring it back, especially being in the Appalachian Mountains.
Yeah.
But that did not happen.
Well,
other than that, super cool place.
yeah, I would say, well, I was going to say underrated, but I wouldn't say it's underrated because Shenandoah is like the #1 national park. But
You're the one messing up the mics now.
But I was pleasantly surprised. I didn't think it was going to be as amazing as it was.
It's definitely the most beautiful part of the Blue Ridge Mountains.
Yeah. Like, I love the Blue Ridge Mountains,
seen.
but I'm so used to seeing them that I didn't think I would be, like, wildly amazed showing up there. But when we first got on the Skyline Drive is, like, the main road through the whole park, it was just, like, immediate awe views.
The views are just so different from here and Boone and the surrounding areas because there's like a bunch of meadows and like farmland, and most of the views you're looking down into the valley of the mountains where there's a bunch of farmland and stuff.
And it seems like you can see way further too.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And for those of you that don't know, Skyline Drive is what the Blue Ridge Parkway turns into. So like you go up through North Carolina and into Virginia. Whenever the Blue Ridge Parkway ends in Virginia, it immediately turns into Skyline Drive, and then Skyline Drive goes all the way up through Shenandoah National Park.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really know if it goes any farther than that, but
I don't know. But yeah, it was really cool. We got really close to some deer because at our campsite, there were a couple of deer in the second morning that we were there that walked right through our campsite, like probably like 10 feet away from us. And they were super cute and super chill.
yeah,
that
best
was
part of the
cool.
trip by far.
Yeah.
The best part was either the deer or the 5 beers.
Oh, yeah.
It was a good night.
Yeah.
Coors, sponsor us. Anyway, 4 stories today. Well, the first thing that I have, which I'm going first, by the way.
Okay.
Sorry, it was a good segue.
I am going first, by the way.
It was a good segue into the description of what's going on tonight. The first thing I have is like partially stories because, okay, I'll just get straight to the point. The title is Paranormal Thoughts with a Medical Examiner from the Paranormal Encounters subreddit.
Okay.
And basically this person is just letting people in the Reddit comments ask questions, and the majority of the comments are, "What's the craziest thing you've seen? Has this happened to you?" And because that's just it gets a little bit redundant.
Yeah.
Because I get that being the top question or whatever, but yeah. So I've got that and another story, and you said you have.
I have 2 stories. One of them is pretty creepy, and the other one is not really creepy. It's more lighthearted and kind of
incredible description. Thank you.
better vibes, I guess.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right. So here I go.
Mm-hmm.
This was shared by u/signal motor 6609. And I'll read the little snippet before I get into the comments. It just says, "Hi everyone. Most have seen my posts and comments about being a medical examiner. I haven't. And all the paranormal activities that happen. I have been asked by multiple people in this sub to do an AMA for everyone. What does AMA stand for? Ask me anything?
Yeah.
Yes, I got it right. I have never been happier. If it does involve cases, some I cannot answer in full detail, but I will answer to the best of my abilities. I look forward to hearing your questions and thoughts. Please be aware that my schedule does not always allow me to answer quickly, and thank you for your understanding." So, comment uno. Hello. A friend who works in a funeral home often tells me that when they are working on preparing the body for the coffin, they often see the spirit of the deceased they are working with in the corner of the room watching.
Mm-hmm.
Has this happened to you? Num, 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 num. I was just going back to what I was doing earlier.
Okay.
Um, and OP replies, "I want to say yes, but I only ever catch it out of the corner of my eye. I rarely ever fully see a spirit with me. I have had a few that I clearly saw. I even checked that no one was in the building with me that weren't working there. I normally experience an auditory reaction from spirits along with things moving around. I do get reactions based on what I say at times as well. I will
Hmm.
say I have been catching them out of the corner of my eye more often now. I have to move around and not look up to see if they are there. They disappear the moment they are seen."
Interesting.
Um, and then a follow up question to that question: do you ever get scared of any of these spirits you've seen or heard? And they say, "In my morgue, I've never truly been scared," which is crazy.
It takes a special kind of person to be able to
Hmm.
work in a morgue, I will say.
But surprised is more like it. Startled, even. Outside of the morgue, the Bayou incident that I posted about recently is the only time I was truly, truly terrified.
My
I've.
assistant is here.
Oh, hello, Thomas Nedison.
Or not or should I say our manager is here actually.
Yeah.
He makes sure everything is going
For those
smoothly.
of you that aren't watching, this is Cat,
Mm-hmm.
Ned.
Yeah.
Anyway, um, they say, "I've gotten sick from things, but it wasn't scary because I just assumed I ate something bad, but later realized maybe it wasn't that." Um, and the way I mean it's redundant is because the next comment is, "Have you had clear paranormal experiences as a medical examiner?"
Mm-hmm.
Um, but they give like
Oh,
different,
okay. I just
they answer the questions differently each time, which makes it a little bit more interesting. Um, they say yes, multiple. We are scientists first, so our curiosity doesn't go to the paranormal immediately. The ones we can confidently say are not of this world are the words and heavy breathing we hear around. We are always together, so we know the sound of each other's voices. Our building is secure enough that only 3 of us are able to allow people in, and we have to escort them everywhere. We have no idea where the voices or breathing are coming from." Follow up question to that: do the voices ever say things understandably? And they say, "Sometimes they do say things that make sense and are pertinent to what I'm researching or doing. I cannot promise you that it's not my mind coming up with ties and it just being a weird thing from sleep deprivation or just exhaustion from a busy day. It is possible, but it's a little too weird to hear a man's voice, lower than mine. It's impossible. It's possible, but it's a little weird to hear a man's voice lower than mine can even go, or one I have heard. It was weird for sure." Um, Follow up to the follow up question for that is, "Can you give an example of one of the most interesting things you heard that had context?" And they say, "A drug overdose of a young man. I had tested for your normal street drugs and pharma grade fentanyl, etc. Nothing. All I heard was, 'You were right,' and a pill bottle came flying out of my purse. My allergy meds. I found it weird, so I widened the net of possible drugs that it could have been. It was a pharma-grade narcotic that was very hard to find in the blood sample, yet lethal. I don't think I would have done another widened panel if I didn't have that happen."
Wow, that's crazy.
Um, Somebody asked, "What did it say?" in correlation to that. And they say, there was one with a man who died of a drug overdose. I had done a toxicology report and wait, am I just reading the same thing? Yeah, it is the same thing. He took his own life by taking pills from family members, pills that normal people wouldn't have access to. He had access to their medications and took his own life. And they reiterate, yes, the allergy pills came out of my purse. I didn't feel it as an important detail due to the topic being told. It's Science 101, and I didn't want to add something to throw it off when we were specifically talking about the voice. And the next comment, what's the oddest paranormal experience that has occurred during or before an examination? And also, does the entrance of the how do you say that, mortuary
Mortuary.
have an odd heavy feeling to you? And they say, I completely forgot about the second part. I do not feel it as super heavy, but I just may be used to the spirits that call my morgue home. Angie is one of the normal ones. That's what the texts call a ghost in our midst. Angie will be written out in water or dirt or something randomly. No one around, even checking cameras. She makes it fun, so I think I just keep a more upbeat spirit as well so I don't feel that darkness. I have no idea, though. And then responding to the first part of the question, I would say during an internal examination and autopsy, I had already sent blood samples over to the lab, routine. This man had no signs of anything I was thinking for the area. Certain drugs, maybe? Nope. What the actual hell? I just said out loud that day. I clearly remember it, and a man's voice just said, you were right. Okay, we're going back to that again. Okay, a question not about experiences. Do you believe in something beyond death? And they say, absolutely. Beyond the shadow of a doubt, that is what I believe. What is beyond death that I can't even begin to tell you? I hope something peaceful. So many lives are ended in ways unimaginable, so if they can at least have rest after, then I'm for that. Follow-up question to that, what do you think happens? Even though they just said, I don't know. But they say most religions believe in a form of heaven or hell, so I'd like to think there is a heaven, and that loved ones were there, were there, and no pain or limbo space. I don't feel like I said that right, but it wasn't written well, so I can't tell. A home in the afterlife, I guess. Ooh, this is a good one. What's your opinion on mediums?
Okay.
I
I have no idea if you'll be able to hear Ned's purring in this microphone.
Probably not, but
It's pretty faint,
we
but
can
it is
imagine.
there.
So what's your opinion on mediums? And they say, I don't dismiss them. Just as I am a doctor, I am as much of a scientist. I have never spoke with a psychic or know of anyone that has. I'm sure there are people sensitive to it. Not all people can be doctors. I can't be one on the living, not my thing. We are all unique in our own ways that I can't possibly dismiss the possibility that psychics are telling the truth. A lot are fake. Yeah, the cheaper they are, the faker they are. A lot are fake and usually of the mentalist kind, and I think that also pays into my skepticism. Just because there isn't proof yet doesn't mean it's not true. Gravity, for example. Breathing. We had no idea how breathing even worked for so long, but it did. We had no proof of how, but it was true. It was a life force. I don't believe any good scientist should dismiss the possibility. We work with the impossible all the time, even just in day-to-day life.
Very well said.
I won't do too many more. This is another good one, though. Somebody asks, what do you think happens to the energy in our bodies when we die? Does it stay together in cohesiveness or just disperse? And they say, energy can neither be created nor destroyed. It can only change forms. As a scientist, this is a fact, and with that knowledge, we have to assume that the energy of a person does not go away. It just changes form, from human to whatever they become. I don't think it is cohesive entirely. It can be cohesive, but I believe parts are lost in the transition that it can be considered both.
Mm-hmm.
So this is a little bit more like medicine forward question, um, asking about what fellowships they did and did any of your attendings ever mention an experience. Um, so they say, I'm a forensic pathologist, so I completed a residency in anatomic pathology and completed my fellowship in forensic pathology thereafter. I loved it. Forensics was always my thing, and so was anatomy and physiology. I decided that the dead are just as much in need as we are. My attendings tend to be to be quiet as a bone. They call us what is happening to my mouth? They call us crazy, but the looks on their faces when we say something they have experienced tells us otherwise. I hope one day they will be comfortable enough to open up.
Mm.
It's scary, and being a non-believer into a believer by experience is something that people usually tend to hide. My attendings usually like to do that. The other two medical examiners and I have all experienced many things. The unconfirmed position of one of my colleagues was probably the most terrifying experience. Not in that it was violent, but it was emotionally violent. I
Mm.
didn't mention it in the post, but I was sick for days after it happened. I was freezing. No one could explain it.
Creepy.
Yeah, man, this is all really good stuff. This
Mhm.
could probably just be the whole episode. Um, and then I won't answer this one in full, but somebody said, how often do you encounter spirits in numerous cases? Um, and they just say, I encounter a spirit maybe every 5 cases I work on.
That's kind of a lot.
It's definitely not all of them, and 5 cases will take me a while to do a full workup on.
Mm.
Um, and they say they have encountered bad spirits. Um, I would say I encounter more confused spirits than anything else. They don't always realize that they're dead, and you can hear crying or their things are being flipped through and no one is by them.
Mm.
The most violent physical attack broke my left shoulder, and it's in this sub under Haunted in the Bayou. Okay, so next
So
episode or
the
one of the
way that they were describing it, it made it seem like they were just having casual experiences. Every once in a while, they'll drop a, "Oh yeah, my coworker was maybe possessed and broke a bone."
yeah,
That's crazy.
the attack
Yeah, we'll need to
caused
come
them
back to that
to
story
land on
next
their right
episode.
shoulder.
That's crazy.
There's no way my left clavicle and shoulder should have broke, but it was exactly where I felt a hand and where my coworker saw the hand and spirit of a woman. We ran and collided and fell. The only thing that touched my left shoulder besides air was that spirit. I still cannot explain it. I won't ever go back. Neither will
Wow.
she, and she was a medical examiner there at that time. I will never touch a 10-mile radius of that shack ever again.
Mm.
So yeah, I will be asking to share that story as well.
Yeah, for sure.
Um, and there's so many other questions, dude, but we got other stories we got to get to. So
Yeah, we can definitely come back to that thread and do
yeah,
more
we'll just
at other
have a whole
times for
episode
sure.
on Signamotor 6609's experiences as a medical examiner.
Well, yeah. Yeah, we should have a themed episode where we talk about anything with like medical stuff, hospitals, that kind of
Yeah,
stuff, and we can talk more about that.
yeah, I'll be
That would
saving
be
that.
good.
But that is all very, very interesting stuff. And
Mhm.
coming from somebody who practices medicine and is a scientist and can still say those things have happened to them is a lot more evidence to me than a lot of things.
Mhm.
Um, whenever we were chatting, and by chatting I say 3 messages, um, they said, "Feel free to use anything that I share. I just want to know that it happens everywhere. I just want people to know that it happens everywhere. Even us doctors have paranormal encounters. I really don't have a lot of info about myself as I'm not allowed to share my place of employment on any socials unless authorized. Username can be given out." Um, and they say, I look forward to listening to all of the episodes. It's an honor to be
Mm.
offered a spot on your show for my experiences.
Yay.
No, thank
Glad you're here
you
listening.
for allowing us to share this because that's really,
Yeah.
really good stuff. And we will be definitely checking out the Bayou story. Born
Mhm.
on the Bayou. Born on the Bayou.
All right. Great. Anything else you wanted to include?
I don't think so. I mean,
Okay.
I I don't have like anything to say because they answer all the questions and
Mhm.
like I don't know.
Yeah, I just wasn't sure if you were done yet.
Oh, I'm done.
Okay. So,
I can drink my water
which
now.
story would you like to hear first?
Let's save the evil, scary one for last.
Okay.
Man, I've got a lot of energy right now.
You have all evening.
I feel like the past 4 or 5 days, I've just been like a different person.
Mm. Really?
Yeah, I just feel like I've had a lot more consistent energy.
That's
I've been
good.
a lot more like lively and like positive, I feel
Yeah,
like.
I would agree with that.
And now I'm just waiting for something to hit me and me go back to my period
Okay.
or whatever you called it, that scientific
Mm?
name.
What?
The other day I was like, I think I have a period. And you were like, a period? And I was like, yeah. And you were like, I think you mean a.
I said I think you may be on a woman's circadian rhythm because you had said that like something about, what did you say you were complaining about? What were you saying?
Weren't we at Chili's when I said this?
Just hit myself in the face with the
Nice.
microphone. I think we were in the parking lot of Chili's, yeah.
I think I said that because I had realized that I had been like extra, like giddy recently.
No, you said it 'cause there was something wrong. Like you were in a bad mood or something. And you were like, I think I'm on my period.
Oh, I don't remember.
But I don't know. It was something like that. You'd had a lot of energy lately, but now you're feeling all tired and you don't know why because you haven't been doing anything different. And I said, you're probably on a women's circadian rhythm because theirs goes monthly, not daily. Hours. I don't know why I said theirs. Like I'm not.
I'm not a woman.
But yeah, that's what I
Anyway,
said.
that's just how I've been feeling. It's been a little bit interesting, but
Yeah.
I'm liking it right now, and I don't want it to change
Mhm.
because I've been
Yeah.
like go 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 go.
Yeah, no, I get that. I feel like for a few days there I was in a really good mood every day too. And then today I got kind of grumpy. And then we got Indian food and then I was happy
Yeah,
again.
you were fine after you ate food.
Yeah.
Just usually how it goes.
Yeah. All right. Anyways, well, let's get to the story. So, this was in the paranormal subreddit. Title is I'm a skeptic, but what I saw that night made me question everything.
I feel like
There is a
I've
trigger warning
read this
for
one before.
death. It's animal death, pet death. So, if that is a soft topic for
Did you
you,
mark
maybe don't
that
listen.
user in our list because
No.
I'm pretty sure.
No dash chip 5500. It was posted 7 hours ago.
Oh, hmm. There must
Maybe
have been
there's
like a
similar
title
titles, yeah.
somewhere. Okay. Anyway,
So, anyways, let me start by saying I'm extremely skeptical when it comes to anything paranormal. I'm an atheist. I don't believe in afterlife, ghosts, spirits, none of that. I believe that if something seems supernatural, there's a rational explanation for it. That being said, there's one thing that happened to me when I was around 10 years old that I've never been able to explain, and I still remember it like it was yesterday.
wait. This is the lighthearted one, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
It sounds really daunting at the
Yeah,
beginning, but
that's why
when
I
you
asked.
when the story is finished and everything, you're like, oh. I had been begging my parents for a pet, and they bought me a rabbit. I remember at the pet store, they told us it's super important to leave the animal alone for a few days. Moving to a new place is a huge stress on rabbits, and they need time to adjust. Well, the very next day, we went out to a barbecue with some family friends, and of course, I took the rabbit with me. I was told not to bother him too much, and I tried, but yeah, I definitely took him out of the cage a couple times to let him hop around in the grass. We got back home later that day, and everything seemed fine. That night, I left the cage door open and brought my rabbit into the bed. He laid next to me around chest level while I was falling asleep. I used to sleep with the TV on because I was scared of the dark, and the light/sound helped me. The TV was right next to my bed and lit up the whole area pretty well. At some point during the night, at around 3 a.m., I randomly woke up. That was weird in itself because I almost never woke up in the middle of the night unless I had a nightmare, and I didn't that night. I looked over and I saw the rabbit sitting exactly where he was when I fell asleep. I reached out to pet him, and my hand just went through him. It was like he wasn't there. And then he sort of vanished and appeared again a bit further to the right. I tried again, same thing. He disappeared again and popped up even more to the right. Third time, same thing, and then he was just gone. At this point, I was wide awake and kind of freaking out. I started searching the bed and eventually felt something under the blanket near my feet. I lifted it up and there he was, lying completely still. This part is fuzzier in my memory, maybe because I was in shock, but I realized pretty quickly that he was dead. I ran to my mom crying and told her everything. She said it must have been a dream, but I know it wasn't. The TV was still on, the room was lit up, and I wasn't dreaming. It's been over 20 years since that night, and I've barely told anyone about it, just my girlfriend and my best friend. I still don't believe in ghosts or the afterlife, and I think maybe my brain may have been half asleep or in some weird state of hallucination or something. But whatever it was, it felt real, and I'll never forget it. But the way it all happened, it really felt like his soul was there for a moment just after he died, like he was saying goodbye. It's odd how the hallucination and his death overlapped like that, making sense of the moment.
We're pausing for our manager to
Okay.
move. Thank you.
That was the only hallucination that I've ever experienced. What do you think about it?
Did they say like? So hand went through. Where did the actual like physical? Was the physical body? Was that what was actually
The
to
physical
the right?
the physical body was at his feet under the blanket
Oh.
the whole time. But it looked like the rabbit was laying where he last saw him, but was moving. And someone had commented, and this is what made me be like, oh, that's so cute and sad. And aw, was someone said, huh, that's interesting. I like your interpretation of the soul of the rabbit lingering and sort of hopping off as you reached for it. He must have made a connection with you before he passed on. It was kind of him to let you say goodbye even though you didn't know what was happening. From your story, it sounds like you really loved your rabbit, and that alone would generate enough of an impact for him to want to say goodbye. Are you sad now?
Yeah, because earlier, whenever Schmitty, our other manager, our other cat,
Yeah.
was laying on me, for some reason I was thinking like, what would I say in the post that I made if he just like passed away? And I was thinking like, I don't I don't oh, because he was like, so he does this thing, which is like it's not like a very rare thing, but most cats don't do it. Where like if you put your finger up to like the side of their mouths, he'll start like
Yeah, he'll start munching on
he'll
it for
start
a
munching.
long time. Like
And I was like,
he like won't stop till you take your finger away.
yeah. And I was like, I'm gonna miss your munchies.
Oh my
And
gosh. That's so depressing. Why were you thinking about
I'm gonna miss you looking out the window at the birds. And I don't know what I was thinking about it. It's just something that
Well, sometimes that
into my
happens to me
head.
too. Sometimes I'll be sitting there and I'll be looking at them all cute and I'll be like,
One day you're gonna die.
someday this is gonna be like the worst day of my life.
Yeah.
But
that's
try not to think about
it's
that. It's
interesting that you had that story now because I was thinking about that earlier. So yes, I am sad now.
Yeah. But I mean, I don't know. I just think it's so interesting how like he said he never was someone who would wake up in the middle of the night, and he happened to the night that his rabbit died and saw that. And like even if like there wasn't any actual physical figure there that someone else could see, even if it was like a part of his mind.
Yeah, I was gonna say
like it still could be a message from the rabbit and being like,
yeah, I was
it's
gonna
the
say like,
rabbit's
even
way
if you
of
were like half dreaming or whatever,
yeah.
like it was there for
And
a reason.
exactly. It was still the rabbit trying to. The way I think about it is the rabbit did feel loved by you and cared for by you and wanted to make sure that you were able to say goodbye to the rabbit too.
Yeah.
Oh.
And if you want to hear more about dreams and such, go back and watch episode 10 featuring Andrew Tate, where we
Oh
talk about
yeah.
parallel universes and dreams and
Yeah.
how they're connected to the real world and all
Mhm.
that kind of stuff. Um, yeah,
Yeah.
but no,
Definitely do that.
that is super sweet,
Mhm.
but also not.
It is sad, but also yeah, it is sweet at the same time.
The like,
Mm.
I don't want to say like the bad side of me, but it's like, I guess it's kind of a good thing that you didn't have a lot of time to get like super connected.
I guess so,
But like, I mean, it's
but
sad either way, but like, I don't know.
yeah. And I mean, this child was also like 10 years old at the time. So to feel that kind of like to feel like that was what the message was meant for and to like feel that kind of connection to with the rabbit
Hmm.
is also telling for that age. Like I feel like when you're 10 years old you're still kind of young enough to still not really understand that kind of
Oh
thing. I
yeah,
mean,
for sure. I
maybe not.
mean,
Maybe I'm underestimating that age. But like I feel like you wouldn't typically have that kind of feeling towards
you
it.
are getting to the point around that age, maybe even a little bit before, where you do start to understand the finality of death. But even if you're
Yeah.
not, if you have an experience like that at a younger age, before you're supposed to understand that, you're gonna understand it sooner. So
Mhm.
I feel like, I mean, I've read stuff like at my job and stuff about how like, oh, there's a certain age you're supposed to understand the finality of death and everything. But it's like, if you're 4 or 5 years old and you have like a decent concept on what life is, and
Mhm.
a family member passes away and you know they're never coming back, you understand that finality.
Exactly. You have to understand
I
that
mean, somebody
like
correct me if I'm wrong, but
people
it's
no,
been a
no,
while since
no,
I've
no.
been 5.
That's I mean, no, that people have to realize that like people's lives are different and some kids are going to experience a lot of death in their family or in just the way that they're raised, what they're being exposed to, and like some kids won't. Like you can't say that there's like a specific age where you're gonna
Yeah.
find that out.
I mean, yes and no,
I
because
mean, maybe an age where you should know, but
I mean,
even that,
if
it's
you
like,
can't like talk or like
well,
remember anything, that's a little bit different.
well,
But
of course, I'm not referring to babies here.
okay, cute story, sad story.
Yeah.
I don't want to think about it anymore.
Okay. You don't have to.
All right, my turn. My turn. All right. So this next story is, can you believe it? From the paranormal subreddit. Um, Before I say their username, let me make sure they didn't say I couldn't. Oh no, okay, good thing I checked. They want to keep it anonymous. Um, but the title of this story is called "Fully Black Eyes," and it was posted a day ago.
I think I may have saved this story.
And you didn't put it in the
No, I hadn't
thingamajig.
messaged about it,
Oh,
but I think I may have read this story.
okay. Well, I guess we'll find out. Fully Black Eyes. Like, this sounds fake, but it's weird. There's this woman, Paula, we'll call her.
Mm-hmm.
She's maybe 4'10", 85 pounds, originally from a country in South America, and freakishly strong. I used to take yoga with her, and we did aerials/pole together. She's also nearing 60, but you'd never guess it. She's so fit and tiny, almost ageless in this intense, wiry, even vibrant way. I've never quite known what to make of her. I wouldn't say we were close, though for a little while we started to get closer because we were around each other a lot. The thing is, she started subtly mirroring me, doing her hair like mine, painting her nails the same color, styling herself in ways that felt oddly specific. She even bought me clothes. She even bought me clothes, and it didn't feel like a sweet gesture. It felt off. Like she wasn't admiring me, she was trying to wear me or be me. And then one day we were at open pole together. Let's go to the strip club.
No, they weren't at a strip
I
club.
I know, I know. I know. I just think it's funny. And then one day we were at open poll together with one other person there. The studio doesn't have dim lighting. It's actually bright and fluorescent. She was doing a sideways pole sit and I could feel her watching me. We are both extremely flexible, but I have a connective tissue disorder, so I have a slight edge on her, which isn't a big deal, but she is extremely competitive, probably even a covert narcissist.
Mm.
Anyways, I'd just done something kind of splitty, and I turned around to smile at her because it felt like she was looking at me. And when I did, her eyes were completely black. I mean, fully black. I looked for several seconds because I couldn't look away. She seemed vacant. Not checked out, but absent. Like she'd gone somewhere momentarily and she was temporarily checked out, but yet it also felt like there was something in her place, like an energetic placeholder. Something else seemed to be looking out through her, but it wasn't necessarily an intelligent being. I was left with this feeling of, I don't think I was supposed to see that, and I'm pretty sure she doesn't know I saw this. But also, I don't know if she was even aware of something happening. It's like when you accidentally see a mic in a movie or crew wearing jeans in a film set in ancient Rome. It wasn't just a weird lighting thing. Again, bright fluorescent lights at the studio, or a blink. It was unmistakable, and I've never seen anything like it before or since. I'm also pretty positive nobody else saw it. It only lasted a few moments. I finally stopped looking at her and walked over to the table where my stuff was and took a sip, and then everything was back to normal. I know how it sounds. I tried to rationalize it, gaslight myself into letting it go, but I can't. Not with everything else. The mirroring, the vibe, the way I never felt entirely at ease around her. I'd really love to hear what other people might make of it, because I honestly don't know if I'm reading too much into it or not enough.
I'm really glad that you read that story actually, because I literally just read that earlier today and I had saved it with the intention of messaging about it, and then I found another story that I wanted to read
Mm-hmm.
tonight. But I'm glad you read that because now I still get to talk about it.
But wait, there's more.
Okay.
There's a comment continuing a little bit, which I have not read yet. And apparently you haven't either, so that's great. Um, they say, "Oh yes, I've had many reactions with her since. We actually have a really complicated relationship, and she is a very complicated woman. I'm sure I'm not simple either, but I feel like I want to describe her yoga type in a little more detail." Sorry, I was trying to figure out if yogic was a word because I guess they typoed yoga and spelled yogic.
I think that is a word.
Yogic?
I think so.
All right. She's actually an extremely charismatic instructor with a super commanding presence, more in spite of her tiny stature than anything. You can't help but pay attention to her because she has this intensity, this absolute certainty in a way that she moves and speaks. She's not tiny as in diminished, she's tiny as in lean or highly concentrated. The air she has about her isn't warm, exactly, but it's magnetic. And to be fair, she really does know her stuff, physically. I readily admit that I have learned a lot from her early on. I've never seen someone with such command over their own body. But there's this vibe when you start regularly attending her classes, like she expects total loyalty. The room kind of rearranges itself around her, and even though it's subtle, everyone knows the rule because it's strongly implied, if not spoken. If you want to stay close, you stay in alignment. She doesn't like her food to touch, if you catch my drift. Everyone in her orbit stays in their own little lane, perfectly positioned around her. She's not building a community, she's building a solar system with herself at the center. If you get too close to each other without her mediation, it throws her off balance because she can't control the flow of information. That's when things started shifting for me. I started making friendships with a few people she clearly saw as hers. Not in a hostile way, mind you, just normal human connection. But it didn't sit right with her. I could feel the drop in temperature, the little ways she started pulling back or correcting me mid sentence or acting like I'd crossed some invisible line.
Hmm. Something doesn't seem right here. By the
Oh,
way,
really?
yogic is a word and it's just a like referring to yoga. Like
Yogic. Yogic.
that was weird. Of or relating to yoga.
Yo, gig. Somebody asked if the whites of her eyes went black too, or if it was just the iris. And they said everything was black, not just
Mm-hmm.
big pupils. I looked it up that night and saw that about narcissists. So I kind of let it drop after that. But lately, I've had some more experiences that made me rethink that moment.
Well, whenever I read that story, I also looked it up, and I read what she probably read about like when people that can happen to people who are like extremely narcissistic or like people who get into like fits of rage. Like sometimes like yeah, their pupils will dilate so big that they do look
It's
black,
adrenaline.
but it's impossible for a human being to have fully black eyes for anything like that.
Well,
So,
yeah.
well, obviously I'm saying, but I'm just saying like I don't think there's any way that her seeing fully black had anything to do with narcissism like she was
Oh
saying.
yeah,
Like
definitely not.
if you truly saw fully black eyes, that makes me think that she is like being used as a walking body for something.
Yeah. Dude, Reddit is making me realize that people do not read shit.
No, they
There
don't.
are so many questions that have already been answered in the story. Like there are multiple comments about like the oh well that's just a sign of like that can happen to like narcissists.
Mhm.
Well, like so many comments about that. It's like, dude,
Yeah.
everything. The whites of her eyes were black. Everything was black,
Yeah, I
and
know.
that's terrifying. And it's not because she's a narcissist. It's because she's being controlled by something.
Yeah, and also just like the details about like how everything has to be completely in order and like everything she needs to be in control of everything. And I know that there are people out there that are just
So that
like
is just
that.
kind of narcissism.
Like I get that, but like also just with the context of like the eyes and all that kind of stuff. Like it makes it seem a little bit more sinister than what you
And
might
also just
think.
being the person that like she like gets that attached to and like wants to copy or
Oh yeah, that would be
wear
creepy.
as
Like
they
feeling
describe.
targeted, like you.
Yeah. Like can you imagine if you went to the one day and there was somebody wearing the exact same outfit as you, like same color
Well, I don't know, because again, like
hair.
some people are just like that. Like some people are weirdos. But if I saw
But I mean
somebody
like
with
every
their
day.
eyes that turned black and they were copying everything I did, then yes, I
But
would
not even
feel a
that.
little bit in
Just like
danger.
if you showed up at the gym every day and every day they had the exact same outfit on as you and you start noticing like they didn't have tattoos before but now they do. And
Oh, well,
now
that would be like, I wouldn't think anything paranormal of that, though. I would think I have a
right, but
stalker.
that's exactly what I'm saying. It's already bad enough that she's a
Yeah.
narcissist and she's trying to copy this person, but the completely black eyes just don't really make it any better.
Yeah. Next story. This is the creepy one. So, you ready?
Buckle up.
Okay. You looked like you were zoning out.
I was.
All right. It's in the Paranormal Encounter subreddit posted by u/known-candidate 5258. Or is that 6? 8. I think I need glasses.
Yeah.
Couldn't even tell on my phone. I recently moved into a new house and heard whistling all night. Is the title.
Are they in the Appalachian Mountains?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, who would have thought?
My mother bought a new house in the Appalachian Mountains. We've always lived in the area, but we used to live in the valley the mountains created. This is our first time ever being right on top of the mountains. My mother and her boyfriend are Christian, while me and my younger sister are more spiritualist and pantheism. My fam,
Pantheism?
huh?
Pantheism?
Yeah. My family is also Wendat and Native American descent from my great grandmother, and my mother was incredibly close to. I've encountered many spirits before. However, my family has always politely considered me and my sister crazy for trying to keep ourselves safe from spirits. I've had spiritual encounters before, many scary ones where I almost felt my soul was taken, but this was the first time I felt like my life was genuinely about to end. We live in an old coal mining town, but the old owners spent almost 2 years renovating to make the house comfortable and livable. It's incredibly windy, but having lived in windy areas before, I know the difference between wind blowing by or through a window. It's also a freezing February and it's so cold I'd rather leap into the snow than open a window right now. not wrong about the
real.
wind. The wind in
Yeah.
the mountains is
The winters would not be bad at all if it
no. Literally just
wasn't windy.
yesterday or like one of the days over the weekend, we had wind so bad all day that we had to completely or I had to completely move all of our patio stuff because the wind was blowing all of it away. So I had to
Like, it
put
was wind
everything
that was, like,
away.
almost worse than the hurricane that
Well,
I mean, for us.
no, I don't think it was quite as bad. Like the hurricane wind was like bad, bad.
I guess we, like, prepared for that and put our stuff
Yeah,
away
yeah, yeah.
anyway.
But no, that was like insane. And there wasn't anything on the weather either that was like warning us about the wind. It was
And,
just like
like,
all of a
a
sudden crazy
huge
wind.
tree got
Oh yeah.
uh timbered or tipped or
Fell right over the
knocked
road.
or
I got a picture of it too. Show it. But anyways, kind of got off track of the story a little
yes, you
bit.
did.
Anyways, it was maybe 9 p.m. I was in the bathroom when I first heard it. It was that really distinct sound of a human whistle. No one in my house knows how to whistle. I feel seen. And none of the shows we watch contain that sort of whistling. My mother and her boyfriend started suddenly arguing soon after, but they had nothing to argue about. I went upstairs and heard it all night long. I started reading a
I'm just
book.
adding to the effect of the story.
I started reading a book and put on noise-canceling headphones with a drama video on to ignore it. But I just kept hearing it. It was a human whistle, the way you'd call your dog or someone back to you while hiking.
Your boy.
Okay.
Sorry, Shimmy.
I lost my place.
I have that effect on people.
But also like a very accurate bird song. We have neighbors, but they keep to themselves and usually use their dogs' names to call them back, not whistling. I felt incredibly unsafe. The only similar feeling I can describe was when I was being followed home one night, but he stopped following me when he realized I knew he was there. Incredibly tense with adrenaline and the complete nausea of anxiety. I just kept ignoring it, even though it sounded just outside my window. But every time I would sneak a glance, nothing was there or changed. It just kept whistling, sometimes whistling over itself. I eventually fell asleep, but kept waking up every other hour because I still heard it. By about 4 a.m., when my baby sister started crying, I felt the adrenaline had completely stopped. She seemed pretty scared, but my mother eventually calmed her back to bed. But when we went into the kitchen, our lights had started. That happens occasionally.
There was a bang.
But when we went in the kitchen, our lights had started leaking the fluid that turns them on. I was unaware that there was fluid in.
Listen, I ain't no electrician, but your
Anyways,
lights should not have
maybe
fluid
they
in
have.
them.
Maybe they have like special kinds of light.
Are
I
you
don't
talking
know.
about candles?
Or maybe they have like gas lamps or something. I don't know. Anyways, I heard someone tapping on our back screen door in the kitchen, as if gently knocking, but no one ever called back when I said hello from the living room, so I didn't answer. I just don't feel entirely safe here, but I feel my mother wouldn't understand my fear. I have anxiety, but it's never affected my perception of reality or my religion. I don't take any medicines, food, or drinks that would affect that either. I plan to buy a dream catcher for my room alongside maybe a rock salt lamp. I brought my amethyst and biggest quartz here because I felt called to before I left. I'll probably leave those on the windows with a bowl of salt near my bed, but I'm not sure if there's anything else I can do. TLDR. What does TLDR mean? I
I just saw
forgot.
that the other day, and I can't
I know it,
remember.
but I forgot.
TLDR, stand by, or you can keep reading, but
Anyways, I heard human whistling all night when there should have been no reason for it.
too long, didn't read.
Is that actually what it means? That doesn't make any sense.
So it's the summary of whatever you just read.
Oh, okay.
Too long, didn't read.
Small
I like that. I'm
Okay.
sorry.
Small update. Some stuff was broken the next morning. The pipe to our bathroom sink completely broke and flooded the only light downstairs, and one of my windows had a tear in the screen.
Out of here.
I hadn't actually read the update yet I don't think this update was here when I read it
Welcome to the
last.
Appalachian Mountains, baby.
What's unnerving is the kitchen is where I heard the knocking, the bathroom is where I first heard the whistle, and the window is where it started being constant. What's weird is that the shower and toilet work fine, perhaps because the bathroom sink has a mirror facing the window. A mirror facing the window is the worst idea ever,
To the window.
for one.
To the wall.
Anyways, that next night, I slept with my quartz and amethyst next to my pillow, and I went up much later than before. I only heard it once or twice before I fell asleep, but I just had a really relaxing dream I don't remember and slept until noon. Sounds amazing.
Yeah, that sounds awesome.
I'm starting to think it may have just had a very aggressive way of welcoming me to the new land and home.
Yeah, totally.
Very welcoming. Definitely.
Window to mirror to window is insane.
That having your screen and your window being slashed right outside, right where you heard the whistling all night, that is a hell no from me.
Yeah, that's insane.
Yeah. Also, the fact that they even looked out the window in the first place, also insane. If I hear a noise like that outside my window, I'm just
Lock your doors.
not my business. I'm
lock
ignoring
your windows,
that.
Close your curtains.
Yeah, someone says, I don't think you're supposed to try and look for the source. I'm sure that's difficult, but until you find a resolution, if you hear something, no, you didn't.
Especially, like you've lived in the Appalachian Mountains your whole life, and
And
still
you
like,
have native
let's
heritage.
Go check it
I mean,
out.
I guess I don't know how connected this person is with their native heritage, but I feel like there's
That's still
some
a little
pretty
bit
well-known rules that.
redonkulous.
But I guess I'm not gonna try and speak on native heritage, but I feel like skinwalkers and like that kind of lore is like very common with Native American
Maybe.
lore. So
If
I'm
you
not,
don't know,
I'm
I
not
sure
sure.
don't.
But yeah, I'm not gonna say for sure because I don't know. But now I'm just reading through some of the comments. But yeah,
I'm sorry if you're
this story is
listening to
even
this.
worse than the first time I read it because I didn't know about that
That's
update.
kind of on you, bro. Like, how in the world are you gonna live in the Appalachian Mountains and know you're in the Appalachian Mountains and know about the Appalachian Mountains and still go searching for what made the noise? Like, oh my goodness.
Yeah, I don't know. I just think, I mean, at least like the second night they were able to sleep and like, I don't know, maybe it was whistling all night and they just didn't hear it because they were sleeping, but hopefully it doesn't keep persisting that way. I had messaged about this story kind of a while ago because yeah, I messaged about this in February, on
Oh.
February 23rd, and they just answered a couple days ago, but they didn't say whenever they responded any kind of like updated details or anything, so I'm guessing all the updates are in the post, but yeah. So, and they also said they were like, I live in a mountain range that's a part of the larger region of the American Appalachian. I asked if they didn't mind sharing what area, but then they didn't answer. So, not sure what the larger part of Appalachia is.
I don't know. It's
Not
so
sure.
big.
It's yeah. I guess maybe Virginia, but
That's another thing that I just kept being reminded of while we were in Shenandoah was that the Appalachian Mountains are older than like everything.
Yeah, I kept saying that to Dara. Like every time we would like be looking at you, I'd be like, "These are older than the dinosaurs."
And it's like there's no way that there isn't something like going on in there for being that old.
Oh yeah, for sure. The amount of things that have, the things and people that have died in the mountains,
The
the
things
things
that
that
have been, the
are,
things that are, and the things that will
yeah,
be.
exactly. So don't ever underestimate the Appalachian Mountains. That's for sure.
I
But
sure never will. It's like there's
I know there's a lot of people who try and say like, oh, if you actually grew up in Appalachia, you'd know that none of that stuff is true and blah blah blah. Like some people get like offended, like they think that um like saying that kind of stuff is like almost like stereotypical.
derogatory.
Yeah. But then you also have people who claim that they've lived in Appalachia their whole life and have experienced this kind of stuff. So I think it's just more so like personal belief and what you I don't
It's
know.
just person. It's not even that. It's just like person to person because
Yeah.
like I could go we could end up living in the Appalachian Mountains our entire lives, and I could go without experiencing anything.
Right.
It just depends on who you are and
Yeah, and
how
also like
lucky you end
where
up
you are,
being.
cuz like yeah, we live in the Appalachian Mountains, but we live like in a city. So I don't
Yeah, we're
know
not like
like
out there.
right. So like I don't know like you could be I could understand someone who has lived in the Appalachian Mountains your entire life and never experienced anything, and you're also just a skeptic and like being like, "Oh, don't say
Hmm.
that about where I live. It's not true." But then like someone could be a few miles away from you and be experiencing that all the time.
Yeah,
I don't know. It just depends, but
we're saying a lot of stuff about how it's creepy, but it's also beautiful, and it must be.
yes.
But bottom line is, it has to be respected, because
Mhm.
if it's not respected, it will be creepy.
That and I think that like I don't know, like I feel like I've seen a lot of people like from Appalachia say that like saying that stuff is harmful because it makes Appalachia seem like a scary place or like a bad place to
Well, if
be
it
and all
keeps
this kind of
people away,
stuff.
I'm all for
And
it.
it's like, well,
Bone
I
sucks. Tell your
mean,
friends.
yes, but like I feel like those two things can still be like I feel like there can be that kind of like lore where it's like, oh yeah, like this kind of stuff happens, this kind of thing is real, whatever. But Appalachia can also be extremely beautiful and
And
provide a
is
lot of happiness and have a lot of culture that is amazing and beautiful. So I don't think that those two things have to be like contradicting of each other. I feel like they can be
right. And again, it's just who you are, and specifically where you are. I feel like
yeah.
in the mountains, because whenever we were in Shenandoah, there was one night that we both woke up at like 3 in the morning, which is like the devil's hour or whatever.
Yeah.
And we got out of the tent, and usually I'm like, if I like wake up in the middle of the night like that, I start like freaking out.
Yeah, me
But
too.
I
I
was,
usually would never get out of the tent at that kind of at that time of night unless I like really had to, like I did. Basically, for context, I had
yeah,
woken
I
up.
was gonna get the
Yeah, I'd
context,
woken up
but
at like 3 in the morning with like the most like mind splitting, nauseating migraine ever, and it was like so bad. Like I like threw up. I was crying. It was a whole thing.
yeah,
But
but I was
got out of
like,
the tent and we heard deer walking around in the trees in the darkness, and any other time I would have been like flipping out. Like I would have been running to the car. I don't know if it was just because I was in like so much
I
pain
think
I
it was
didn't
just because you're in
care.
pain, but
But I knew right away that it was deer, but I didn't have any weird feeling about it. Like I was like, "Oh, it's deer."
yeah, because we heard that, that like
Yeah, that's probably
that
also
thing.
why.
But like even like I wasn't in pain. I think I would have been more freaked out if we had just gotten out for like no reason. But since my mission was like I need to like figure out how to make
Yeah.
her migraine go away, like walking to the truck to get you an Advil, and like I
Mhm.
wasn't
Yeah, and
thinking
then even
about.
when he did leave and I was just like sitting there like by myself in the darkness by the trees, like I still felt like fine. Not fine. I was really struggling, but I felt safe
Sometimes you
at
just have
least.
to embrace it.
Yeah, like if you I feel like if you're too scared of everything all the time, you're never going to get to do what you want. You're never going to be able to like see the things you're going to see. Like if I was so scared of the woods and the mountains and being outside, then I would never go camping. I would never see
Hmm.
the things that I love to see.
Yeah,
But yeah, anyways,
I think that's it.
yeah, that's all I got.
Man, I'm glad we can actually provide y'all with some sort of meaningful content.
Mhm.
Because recently it been rough. We've been all over
Yeah.
the place.
Yeah. Well,
Keep your eyes peeled.
good
I'm
episode today.
producing an album for a band
Yes, he
here in
is.
Boone. Recording's almost done, but I still got a lot of work to do. Um,
No, but it's really getting somewhere really fast and it's really exciting. So,
look towards the end of June. That'll probably be around the time it starts coming out. But their first single will be sometime. I'm not gonna say anything. Anyway, that's gonna do it for this episode of Ode to Ghosts. Thank you for
thank
joining us,
you.
and we will see you next week.
Bye.